Hello travelers and welcome to a new video. And my name is Kerry. I go by the Travel Addict Guy on YouTube, and I've been traveling full time for the last several years. It's almost 3 years now, and I've been abroad for 8 of the last 10 years. So I've been in quite a few hostels, and I've compiled a list of 10 tips for booking and staying at a hostel. So let's get right into the tips and learn how to survive a hostel. So if you've never been to a hostel, it can be a great experience. It can be a bad experience. So I'm gonna give you some tips on how to make it the best experience possible. So I'm actually in a hostel right now. I'm gonna show you a little bit of it. So most of the time you're gonna be staying in the bunk beds like this. This is the most common. Okay, tip number 1 is book the weekend in advance. And I would suggest that you book your stay in advance if possible, at least a few days in advance. And you're gonna wanna go online, you're gonna wanna find a hostel you want, and you're gonna wanna book it. And especially for the weekend, because what happens on the weekend, most people travel on the weekend and the prices tend to go up. So if you wait until the weekend, the prices a lot of times are going to go up because there might be something going on in the cities, especially if it's a big city. There might be something going on like a holiday, a special event, a concert, or a soccer game, for instance, and the prices can go up because it is by demand. So during the week, you have a little bit more leeway, but on the weekend, I would definitely book it in advance. I do want to recommend Hostel World. I think they give you the best price. I've been using them for quite a while, and there will be a link to Hostel World in the description as well as in a pinned comment. Okay, so the second tip is to only stay at hostels that are 8 out of 10 or 4 of 5 stars or above. Now people rate these hostels, and I would definitely suggest you go online and you look at the hostels you're getting, and I would definitely go for the hostels that are rated 8 out of 10 or 4 out of 5 or better. And in my experience, those are the best hostels, because people are going on, they're rating the hostels, and in fact, they'll ask you after your stay, like Hostel World will ask you, or some of these other online sites that will ask you to rate the hostel, and I suggest that you do that because it helps other travelers in the future, and they know if this is a good hostel or not. So that is my best tip, because I've stayed in hostels that were a 7, something like that, and I got a bad experience, guys. And we see hostels that are 5 and 6, stay away. They usually have some major issues. The third tip that I want to recommend is to always bring a towel and to bring shower shoes with you. You need to have some shower shoes. You want to bring them with you. I always put mine in a plastic bag, just a regular plastic bag, like a garbage bag. I seal them up in there as long as they're dry, and I take them with me, and I don't have any issue. And I also use them to walk around the hostel. I don't recommend you walk around barefoot in the hostel, because there's a lot of people walking around, and I've seen some people that you can actually smell the feet sometimes, like a fungus, or you can get an athlete's foot. And I would definitely not go in the shower. There are a lot of people using that shower, and yes, they're cleaning it, but they're not gonna get everything. So definitely wear a pair of shower shoes. It is a must. So here, I have a pair of shoes here. All you need is a pair of sandals like that, and you are good to go. And the towel I recommend this microfiber towel like this, okay? This is what you want. It's just a microfiber towel. And I got this actually at Decathlon, which is a store here in Europe. So you can get a towel like this for between 5 and 10 euros. It's really lightweight. It dries very quickly. It's microfiber. So you don't need a big heavy towel weighing you down. That's all you need, is this microfiber towel. It's actually not very heavy at all, and that is what I would recommend. And make sure you have a towel with you, because a lot of hostels, they don't give you a towel. It's not like a hotel. Now some hostels do, especially the higher rated ones, but they tend to be a little more expensive. Don't expect the hostel to supply a towel, and sometimes they will charge you to rent a towel, which is maybe like 5 euros, so you could almost buy a towel for that. So just bring your own towel and avoid any problems like that, not having a towel, or the shower shoes especially. Okay, tip number 4 is to always lock up your valuables. The hostel will not be responsible for anything that is lost or stolen. Now I know people, you like to trust your roommates, your flatmates, and your hostel mates. So you'd like to trust them, but nowadays we know not everybody is trustworthy. You're likely not gonna have a problem. I've stayed in a lot of hostels, guys, a lot of hostels, over 100 hostels easily. And I would say that 95% of the time there's no issue, but then 5% of the time there is. And I've heard some horror stories where people, their computer went missing or their cell phone went missing. Things like that, electronics, those are ripe to be taken and they're easily taken. So people are checking in, checking out all the time. And sometimes people get access to your room because sometimes these keys don't always work perfectly. They should, but somehow, and the staff always has access to your room. So just to take precaution, I would lock your things up. There should be a locker in the hostel. Almost all hostels have a locker. If the hostel doesn't have a locker, I would recommend not staying there. You need to have a locker. If your bags will not fit inside of the locker, what I do is I take out my expensive items. I take out my laptop, I take out my cameras, and I take out my other equipment, electronic equipment, and I put it inside the locker and I lock that. Some of these hostels, they supply you with a key for the locker, or they have like electronic lock. Those are fine, but a lot of times you just need a padlock. So that is another thing you need to bring with you. I forgot to mention, bring a padlock with you. You always have to have a little padlock so you can lock up your things. So that is a must, and you can buy those for like $5 or less. Tip number 5 is to check how far away you are from the center. Now each hostel will say, when you're booking it, it will say this is 500 meters from the center. This is 1 kilometer from the center. Here in Europe, they use kilometers. This is 2 kilometers from the center. So you want to check that out because you want to know if you're in the center of town or if you're going to be outside the center of town. So I always check out where the hostel is located before I book it, because sometimes the hostels are cheaper because they're away from the center of town, or they might be in an area that is so the price is cheaper. And that's not always the case, but it could be. So depending on where you want to be, if you want to be right in the center, now sometimes you have to pay a little bit more for that. If you want to check it out and you want to know, is there transportation nearby and things like that. So always check how far the hostel is away from where you're going to go or the center of town. Normally, that's where the touristic things are. Tip number 6 is to always read the reviews. And I would say to read at least 4 or 5 of the reviews and read them quite thoroughly. And what these sites tend to do, put the best reviews first. So when you look at it, it's like, oh, these are the best reviews. Oh, this hostel looks great. But they're not showing you the worst reviews. So what I do is I like to click newest reviews. And that is what I always go to, the newest reviews. And it will show you the newest reviews. So I read at least 4 or 5 of the newest reviews. I look to see if there was any issues. And if it mentions anything like bugs, because that is a little bit of an issue. Now, luckily, I've never had to deal with that issue, but I have heard of hostels having bugs, even bed bugs or cockroaches. I have seen in Spain, to be honest with you, I have seen some hostels with cockroaches, but there's a lot of cockroaches in Spain that you might know. So that's another thing I should say. Make sure you clean up after yourself, because that is a big thing. Some people, they leave dirty dishes and things, and you should always clean up after yourself in the hostel. So definitely read those reviews, read the newest reviews, because what has happened, especially after the pandemic, a lot of these hostels have changed hands. They tend to change hands. So you can have a really good hostel one year and then someone else takes it over and it just turns into trash. And I've seen it before. So you have to be very, very careful. Anything you see about bugs, anything like that, avoid that hostel like a plague, especially if they're recent reviews. I would definitely avoid that hostel, or dirty or unclean, things like that, or bad smell. So unless it's just one off, but you got to be really careful, guys. You got to read those reviews, and that has saved me a lot of time and hassle. Hostel tip number 7 is to bring earplugs. Earplugs are a must in the hostel because of one thing, guys. It is snoring, and that is an issue. If you stay in a room of people, that is usually an issue. You can have someone snoring in the room. So that can be a problem, and I always bring some earplugs in case there is a snorer, and that can really wreck your night's sleep. So do that in just case you need them, and some people are used to sleeping with them. So if you're in a hostel, definitely have them with you just in case. Otherwise, you may have a rough night's sleep. If you have an issue, talk to the staff. The staff are there to help you, and normally in most hostels, the staff are very friendly, especially a good hostel with a good rating. The staff are very friendly because they want you to give a good review. So if you have an issue with someone in the room, they're being very rude or they're being very disrespectful, just whatever the situation is, as long as it's not something basic, and it's snoring, usually they can't move you for that. But if something is actually a real issue, or someone has very, very bad hygiene, because this is occasionally the case, someone smells very bad or something, you can go talk to the staff and they will either go talk to that person, or you can suggest a different room to move you into another room, guys. And there's actually been rooms that I've been into where someone was playing the music quite loud or doing something very, very impolite. And that is normally not the case. I have to say most people in a hostel are quite friendly. They're quite nice, but you always get that one bad apple. So go to the staff, see if they can find a solution to the problem. Sometimes they will move you to another room, and sometimes that is the best solution. So tip number 9 to surviving a hostel. I generally like to book rooms that are 8 beds or less. Now, some of these hostels, they offer like 14 people. I was actually in Portugal, there were 21 people, something like that in a room. Now, of course, that's the cheapest price, but unless you're really, really on a tight budget, that's a lot of people to be sleeping with. And sometimes these bunk beds are 2 and 3 high, and you have to climb up and down. As long as that's not an issue, then you might want to go for that. But personally, myself, I don't like that. I like to be in a room with less people. There's less chance of having a problem with someone. So I just like less people in the room. I try to book a room with 8 or less people. Usually I'll go for 6 if I can find it, and 10 is the absolute maximum for me. If there's over 10 in a room, I will pass on that. When you're booking the hostel, they'll give you different options about the prices, and usually the cheapest option will be the most people in the room. So if there's 12 people in a room, that might be the cheapest, and 8, it goes up a little bit, or 10, and then 6, and then 4. So if you can get one for a little bit more, and that's usually what it is. So it might be 17 a night for one with 12 people, and then all of a sudden it's only like 20 for the one with less. So I always pick the less option, even if it costs a little bit more. You want to avoid sometimes those people that maybe not have the best hygiene and things, because they're just going to stay in the cheapest hostel or the cheapest room they can find. So sometimes going up a level gets you a little bit better clientele also, and it makes it more comfortable your stay. The last tip is number 10, and that is choose a hostel with curtains for extra privacy. Now this hostel behind me, we don't have curtains here, but there are some hostels, they have curtains, and you can pull the curtains back. And when you have curtains in a hostel or in your bunk, it is really, really nice. Now they have some of these capsule ones even. They're quite expensive, but you have like, you get inside, it's almost like a pod and you can sleep in there now, but they're more expensive. But maybe in the future, that's what we'll have. So it's kind of nice to have complete privacy. When you pull those curtains back, no one can see you. And it's great because you can change in there, because that's another issue, changing in the room. A lot of these rooms, I could also mention that they're mixed. So when you book, it's either a mixed room, so you can have women and men, or if you're a woman, sometimes the hostels have women-only rooms or girls-only rooms. So maybe that's a thing for you, but some girls don't mind. They don't mind staying with the guys, and they might want to mingle as well. So it's up to you. It's your option on that. I hope you enjoyed these 10 tips to help you stay and find the best hostel. Staying in a hostel should be fun. It should be a great experience. And I do recommend you to talk to people, try to make friends and have fun. I've made some great friends from hostels, and there's even people that we are still in contact with. So there's a lot of great people you can meet at a hostel, and that is one of the great reasons why you go to a hostel. It is to meet new people, and sometimes people from the hostel will even get together. They'll make plans together to go places together or to go to bars together. So it's a really, really great experience. And sometimes hostels even have certain nights where they plan different activities. They have different things. Sometimes they're cooking up food. You cook food together. So it's just a great thing. If you pick a great hostel, you will have a great experience. So make sure you pick a good hostel, read those reviews, and I hope you have a great experience. And also use Hostel World for the best price. The link will be in the description and pinned as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one. Travel Addict Guy. Happy travels.